Chapter 4. And what the nurse thought of it all. "Why, where have you been, Princess?" asked the nurse, taking her in her arms. "It's very unkind of you to hide away for so long. I was afraid—" She checked herself.
"What were you afraid of, Nursey?" asked the princess.
"Never you mind," she answered. "Perhaps I will tell you another day. Now tell me, where have you been?"
"I've been up a long way to see my great, huge, old grandmother," replied the princess.
"What do you mean by that?" asked the nurse, who thought she was making fun.
"I mean that I've been a very long way up to see my great grandmother. Ah, Nursey, you don't know what a beautiful mother of a grandmother I've got upstairs. She's such an old lady, with such lovely white hair, as white as my silver cup. Now, when I think of it, I think that her hair must be silver."
"What nonsense you are talking, Princess," said the nurse.
"I'm not talking nonsense," returned
Irene, rather offended.
"I will tell you about her. She's much taller than you and much prettier."
"Oh, I dare say," remarked the nurse.
"And she lives upon pigeons' eggs."
"Most likely," said the nurse.
"And she sits in an empty room, spinning all day long."
"No doubt of it," said the nurse.
"And she keeps her crown in her bedroom."
"Of course, quite a proper place to keep her crown in. Wears it in bed, I'll be bound."
"She didn't say that, and I don't think she does. That would be rather uncomfortable, wouldn't it? I don't think my Papa King wears the crown as a nightcap. Does he, Nursey?"
"I've never asked him. I dare say he does."
"And she's been there ever since I came here. So many years."
"Oh, anybody could have told you that," said the nurse, who did not believe a word Irene was saying.
"Why didn't you tell me then?"
"There was no necessity. You could make it up all for yourself."
"You don't believe me then!"
exclaimed the princess, astonished and angry, as she well might be. "Did you expect me to believe you, Princess?" asked the nurse coldly. "I know princesses are in the habit of telling make-believe, but you are the first I've ever heard of to expect to have them believed," she added, seeing the child was strangely in earnest. The princess burst into tears. "Well, I must say," remarked the nurse, who was now thoroughly vexed with her for crying, "it is not at all becoming for a princess to tell stories and expect them to be believed just because she is a princess."
"But it's quite true. I tell you."
"You've dreamt it, then, child."
"No, I didn't dream it. I went upstairs and lost myself, and if I hadn't found the beautiful lady, I should have never found myself."
"Oh, I dare say."
"Well, you just come up with me and see if I'm not telling the truth."
"Indeed, I have other work to do. It's your dinner time, and I won't have any more of this nonsense." The princess wiped her eyes, and her face grew so hot that it was quite dry quite soon. She sat down to her dinner, but ate next to nothing. Not to be believed did not agree at all with the princess, for a real princess cannot tell a lie. So all afternoon she did not speak a word. Only when her nurse spoke to her, she answered, for a real princess is never rude. But even when she does, she has the right to be offended. Of course, the nurse was not comfortable in her mind. Not that she suspected the least truth of Irene's story, but she loved her dearly and was vexed with herself for having been cross. She thought her crossness was the cause of the princess's unhappiness, and had no idea that she was really and deeply hurt at not being believed. But as it was becoming more and more plain during the evening, in her every motion and look, that although she tried to amuse herself with her toys, her heart was too vexed and too troubled to enjoy them, her nurse's discomfort it grew and grew. When bedtime came, she undressed and laid her down, but the child, instead of holding up her little mouth to be kissed, turned away from her and lay still. The nurse's heart gave way altogether, and she began to cry. The sound of her first sobs caused the princess to turn again, and she held her face out to be kissed as usual, but the nurse had her handkerchiefs to her eyes and did not see the movement.
"Nursey," said the princess, "why won't you believe me?"
"Because I can't can't believe you, said the nurse, getting angry again.
Ah, then you can't help it, said Irene, and I will not be vexed with you any more. I will give you a kiss and go to sleep.
You little angel, cried the nurse, and she caught her out of bed and walked about the room with her in her arms, kissing and hugging her.
You will let me take you up to see my great old dear big grandmother, won't you?
Said the princess when she was laid down again. And you won't say that I'm ugly any more, will you, princess?
Nursey, I never said that you were ugly. What do you mean?
Well, if you didn't say it, you meant it.
Never. Indeed, I never did.
You said that I wasn't as pretty as that...
As my beautiful grandmother. Yes, I did say that. And I say it again, for it is quite true.
Then you do think, and you are unkind, said the nurse, putting her handkerchief into her eyes again.
Nursey, dear, everybody can't be as beautiful as everybody else, you know. You're very nice looking, but if you had been as beautiful as my grandmother...
Bother your grandmother, said the nurse.
Nursey, that's very rude. You're not fit to be spoken to. I will not speak to you again till you've learned to be better behaved.
The princess turned away once more, and again the nurse felt ashamed of herself. I'm sure I beg your pardon, princess, she said, though in an offended tone. But the princess let the tone pass and heeded only the words. You won't say it again, I'm sure.
You won't say it again, I'm sure, she answered,
once more turning towards her nurse.
I was only going to say that if you had been twice as nice looking as you are, or some king or other would have married you, and then what would become of me?
You are an angel, repeated the nurse, embracing her again.
Now, insisted Irene, you will come and see my grandmother, won't you?
I will go with you wherever you like, my cherub, she answered. And within 2 minutes, the little princess was fast asleep.